building a core command structure that was replicated at each camp. 44. Commandant / Adjutant. Political Department. Protective Custody Camp, C. Administration. Camp Doctor. Guard Command, 46. Because of the CCI Inspector's personnel policy, which was based largely on personal relationships, there was only a small elite cadre of concentration camp commandants during the entire Nazi era. Unlike the Guards, these experts were generally not dispatched to the front. 47. Duties of the Schutzhoflagerfahrer. The Schutzhoflagerfahrer, head of the preventive detention camp, and his adjutant were responsible for operation of the camp. The Schutzhoflagerfahrer had to maintain order, take care of daily routines, roll calls and so on. Under him were the Rapportfahrer, the Arbeitseinsatzfahrer and the Oberhofsherrin, if there was a women's camp. They were directly responsible for order in the camp and they assigned prisoners to the outside work details. The Blockfahrer, each of whom were responsible for one or more barracks, were subordinate to them. The Arbeitseinsatzfahrer, head of work details, was responsible for prisoner work details, both at the camp and outside and making use of professional skills and abilities. The Arbeitseinsatzfahrer had every prisoner in the camp listed in a card file by profession and skill. 48. Subordinate to him was the Arbeitsdienstfahrer, an SS Unterfahrer, who was responsible for assembling and supervising the internal command, the prisoner functionaries. The Blockfahrer, block or barracks leader, identified candidates from the ranks of prisoners to become the Blockoutest, barracks elder, and Studentest, room elder. Prisoner functionaries were used by the SS as auxiliary police in a divide and conquer strategy. Duties of the political department. The Polizeistabteilung was responsible for records about prisoners, their initial registration, release transfer, police comments about the death or escape of a prisoner, investigations, which most often involved torture or threats, and keeping prisoner card files up to date. The head of the political department was always an officer from the Gestapo, generally an officer from the Kriminalpolizei, criminal police. He was subordinate to the local Gestapo headquarters, but often received instructions and orders from the RSHA, generally the office involved with matters related to protective custody. For example, execution orders went directly from the RSHA office to the Polizeistabteilung and the RSHA decreed individual admissions and release of protective custody prisoners. As a Gestapo officer, the head of the political department reported to the RSHA or the local Gestapo headquarters. He was subordinate to them, as was his deputy. The other members of the department, however, as members of the Waffen-SS, were subordinate to the Gestapo regarding technical and functional matters, but otherwise belonged to the Stabskompanie, staff troops, so that in terms of discipline, they were as subject to the camp commandant. Duties of the maintenance department. The maintenance department was responsible for housing, food, clothing and remuneration of the command staff and guards, as well as for housing, feeding and clothing the prisoners. It was the chief accounting clerk in a commercial enterprise, responsible for the verification of all material goods and their current status and management and upkeep of its real property. Internal accounts were prepared as requested by AMTD4 first under Richard Glux, then Gerhard Mauer. An important office of this department was the Gefangeneneigentumsverwaltung, the prisoners' property management, which was responsible for holding all the personal property brought to the camps by the prisoners, for sorting, bundling and storing the prisoners' money, valuables, civilian clothing and so on. This department was held responsible for thefts, embezzlement or misappropriation was disciplined and offenders could be held criminally liable. Duties of the chief physician. The head of the Sanitätswesen was in charge of several camp doctors, including dentists, who were subordinate to him. They had several areas of responsibility. The troop's doctor was responsible for the medical care of the SS guards. The rest of the camp doctors divided up the remaining areas of the camp, men's camp, women's camp, etc., according to the duty roster. The medical care of prisoners was secondary to their main tasks. Of primary importance were camp hygiene to prevent disease and maintaining prisoners' capacity to work. To this end, they availed themselves of prisoners who were doctors and nurses to serve as auxiliary staff in the infirmary. Direct contact with prisoners as patients was rare. In addition, camp doctors had different non-medical or pseudo-medical tasks, such as selections at arriving room sports with new prisoners and in the infirmary, deciding who was fit to work and who should be killed, supervision of gassing procedures, supervision of the removal of dental gold from dead prisoners' mouths, certification of death after executions, especially murders committed by the camp Gestapo, performing abortions and sterilizations on prisoners, as well as taking part in pseudo-scientific humane experiments. 4950 Management. In a study, historian Karen Orth established that the management level at the concentration camps, commandants and division heads, repeatedly were recruited from a small group of SS members.
Yes, sir. I have to read again from the top because I was looking my cell phone and I'm very sleepy. I like to read it, not just records. Or I have to read this tomorrow.
Concentration Camps Inspectorate. Concentration Camps Inspectorate Gestapo Headquarters on Prinz Albrecht Strasse in Berlin, 1933. The CCI moved into these offices in May 1934. Operation formed May 1934. Disbanded 1945. The Concentration Camps Inspectorate, CCI, or in German, IKL, Inspection der Konzentrationslager, German, NSPKT Sion DKNT Sionzler, was the central SS administrative and managerial authority for the concentration camps of the Third Reich. Created by Theodor Eicke, it was originally known as the General Inspection of the Enhanced SS Totenkopfstandarten, after Eicke's position in the SS. It was later integrated into the SS main economic and administrative office as AMTD. Inspector of all concentration camps. Concentration camp inspector Theodor Eicke. Inspection by the Nazi Party and Himmler at Dachau on the 8th of May 1936. SS Oberführer Theodor Eicke became commandant of Dachau concentration camp on 26 June 1933. 1. His form of organization at Dachau stood as the model for all later concentration camps. 2. Eicke claimed the title of concentration camps inspector for himself by May 1934. 3. As part of the disempowerment of the Esachtraff murder during the night of the long knives, he had personally shot Ernst Röhm on 1 July 1934. 4. 5. Shortly after the Röhm affair on 4 July 1934, Reichsführer SS Heinrich Himmler officially named Eicke chief of the Inspection der Konzentrationslager IKL, Concentration Camps Inspectorate or CCI. 6. He also promoted Eicke to the rank of SS Gruppenführer in command of the SS Wachverben D. 1. Himmler was unquestionably the master of the police organizations and the associated camps, but only those places under the official jurisdiction of the CCI were considered concentration camps. Within the territory comprising the Third Reich. 7a, as a result of the Night of the Long Knives, the remaining Saarland camps were taken over by the SS. 4, 5. The factional police functions of the SS were dissolved on the 20th of July 1934 with the subordination of the Saar. Additionally, the Concentration Camps Inspectorate, CCI, was officially established as a department for Ike. The CCI moved into offices at Gestapo headquarters on Prinz Albrechtstrasse 8 in Berlin. B. While the offices of Reinhard Heydrich's police apparatus was in close physical proximity to the CCI office of Ike, Himmler kept them distinct and separated. Heydrich policed the Reich, arrested and detained people and then sent them to concentration camps, where the inmates were superintended by the CCI under Ike. 9. The CCI was subordinate to the SD and Gestapo only in regards to who was admitted to the camps and who was released. What happened inside the camps was at the discretion of the CCI. 10. The head of the CCI, First Ike, was subordinate both to the SSAMT as an SS member but really only reported directly to the chief of the German police, Reichsführer SS Himmler in this role. 11. This form of dual subordination was characteristic of many SS posts and created free room for interpretation for the members, which is how and why the CCI under Ike became an institution of both the Nazi Party and State. 12. Ike had a free hand in bringing the concentration camps to the highest level of efficiency. Winking sad smiley 13. He especially knew how to use this system for his own ends and contributed significantly to the CCI having sole control of all concentration camp prisoners. 14. Inspectorate from 1934 to 1945. In 1934, the CCI under Ike was operating outward from Dachau. 15. Changes and reorganization of the Mani camps were on the horizon. Under Ike's direction, the smaller detention centers and punitive facilities throughout Germany were consolidated into 5 principal camps at Este region, Lichtenberg-Moringen, Sachsenberg, and Dachau. 15. The SS camp guards of the CCI came from all walks of life. There were men, women, Germans, non-Germans, Protestants, Catholics, other religious faiths, elderly soldiers, young men, army conscripts, ideologues, sadistic killers, and those who treated inmates humanely. 16. In 1936, the concentration camp guards and administration units were formally designated as the SS Totenkopfverbände, Death's Head Troops, SSTV. 17. In April 1936, Ike was named commander of the SS Totenkopfverbände and the number of men under his command increased from 2,876 to 3,222. The CCI was also provided official funding through the Reichsbudget office, and Ike was allowed to recruit future troops from the Hitler Youth based on regional needs. 18. The CCI's leader, Ike, advocated for a tight-knit group. He also did his best to instill a sense of loyalty within the SS men assigned to the camps, encouraging bombast, bravado, and deadly earnestness in carrying out their duties. 19. As the camps expanded into the mid-1930s, so did the number of personnel assigned to the CCI. 20. Ike's most important subordinate, beginning in 1936, was Richard Glucks. On 1 April 1936, Glucks was named by Ike military chief of staff of the inspector of the Reichsverbände and later became Ike's deputy. 21. Many of the administrative duties at the CCI that Ike preferred to ignore were assumed by Glucks, which over time led to his usurping significant amounts of authority. Gluck's subsequent rise to prominence within the Nazi ranks had more to do with Ike's ineffectual management of clerical responsibilities than Gluck's competence. 22. The T building in Sachsenhausen concentration camp, home of the concentration camps Inspectorate from 1938. Ideological training intensified under Ike's command and military training for new recruits working the camps was increased. 23. Sometime in August 1938, Ike's entire support staff was moved to Oranienburg, near Sachsenhausen, where the CCI's main office would remain until 1945. 24. Nonetheless, Ike's role as the chief of the CCI placed time within the framework of Heydrich's secret state police, whereas his command of the DFS head units made him accountable to the Reich Security Main Office, RSHA, of the SS. 24. All SS camps regulations, both for guards and prisoners, followed the Dachau camp model established by Ike. 25. On the 1st of April, 1937,